To the people who don't sleep naked, why? I don't like being naked on any furniture. Sweat creeping around my balls, and but gets on things, and I'd much rather have all the just in my clothes that get changed daily. Seriously, if my bed smelt like swamp as even one time, I'd burn the thing. Plus, I have a down comforter that I'm not prepared to risk losing because I accidentally but flossed it all night long, tossing and turning. It can't to explain it, but I hate my skin touching itself. Edit. People who don't understand just assume I'm being weird. I'm so glad Reddit gets it. Thank you for all the awards. Wow, I thought I was alone. I purposely have sheets larger than my bed purely, so I can put the blanket between my legs. I do that too, plus I have a pillow which I put between my knees. I have 2 kids who could come in at any point in the night needing Lord knows what. I got 5 kids and have had at least 1 kid in my bed 350 nights a year since 2007. Shit, I'm prolo on a list now for saying it like that. If you've got 5 kids, you slept naked enough already. I get nervous my farts will stick to the sheets. I've got bad news for you. Yeah, every time you fart you spray small amounts of fecal matter. So yeah, that's why I don't sleep naked. I physically sleep better with a t-shirt and boxers. This is how I always sleep, but switch to sleeveless for the perfect amount of freedom and comfort. Temp regulation for me is the issue. PJ bottoms or gym shorts get too hot for my legs. Same with socks. Long sleeves are okay in the winter, but can feel too restrictive. No bottom or top just feels too weird. I grew up with siblings in the same room, so I was never naked growing up. If you die in your sleep, your ghost clothes for eternity is being bare-ass naked. Or is this why some ghosts are covered in a sheet? You die in bed naked, you wear the sheet for eternity. If my bare dick even touches my wife's smooth legs, I get all riled up. And she loves and deserves uninterrupted sleep. 25% of the time the primary answer is my menstrual cycle. Shit's hard to get off the sheets. The rest of the answer is my pajamas are comfy AF, and you bet I enjoy getting into them. Not gonna get out of them just to sleep. Hot nights. Sweat is bad. Better to sweat into a shirt and change the shirt at night than to sweat into sheets and then sleep on wet sheets. Yeah, I was going to say the same reason I wear socks with my shoes. Isn't it just common sense to wear socks with shoes? When getting out of bed, I don't want to go from the warmth of sheets to the cold of complete nakedness. Pajamas reduce the temperature change. Makes it more comfortable to get out of bed. It gets cold at night. Waking up is already the worst thing ever. Waking up and having to subject myself to the cold? No thanks. I don't like having exposed skin. I am always wearing at least underwear and pants, and if I'm not sleeping, a hoodie with it. My dogs sleep in the bed too. Is the dog still naked? The dog wears a suit and tie to bed. He wants to always look his best. I used to, but then lived with roommates for a while, and just got used to pajamas. Now it's mostly that my husband won't keep his hands off me if I sleep naked. Plus, our dog sometimes sleeps in the bed, and I'd prefer there to be clothing between us if he decides to tunnel under the covers, as he occasionally does. 2 reasons. Practical. Should something happen, I don't have to spend time getting clothes. Personal. I'm ashamed of my body, so I always stay clothed unless showering. I absolutely hate being naked. If I could take a shower with clothes on, I would. In case of an emergency, I don't want to die naked or have to run outside naked. I lived in a shitty old farmhouse after college. There was a huge tree too close to the house that would make me nervous in high winds. The thought of the tree falling on the house and crushing me in bed was less terrifying than the thought of firemen having to drag my naked ass out from the rubble. I used to sleep naked. A few years back there was a fairly large earthquake in my area. It was a little after 6 a.m. I woke up naked about to get in the shower. The quake started and all the power went out. It was pitch black. I could hear my little sister screaming, and I had to spend a solid minute searching for clothes in the dark before I could check on them. Ever since I've worn clothes to bed, don't want to ever end up in that scenario again. I'd be cold and I like my cozy clothes. I can't believe I had to scroll this far for this answer. In the winter, I sleep not only in PJs, but socks and everything, because it's cozy. Also, if I'm reading in bed before sleeping and my arms are above the covers, it's way more comfortable to have sleeves. Also, I barely can make it out of bed with clothes. How am I gonna do it naked? Freezing is such a turn off. The world is cold and cruel. My bed is warm and cozy. I try to keep it warm when I leave this place of heaven on earth. Cat might attack penis. I have pet rats and had a nap on the couch with them once. My boob was out, and one of them decided to fucking chomp my nipple out of goddamn nowhere. It wasn't a vicious bite. If you've never owned pet rats, they're super cuddly and won't bite if raised properly. But if they want to bite, they can pierce skin easily, like he wasn't trying to hurt me. I have nipple piercings, so I think he was maybe trying to groom me or collect the shiny thing. Either way, I keep my nips covered around him now. Also was very awkward having to explain to my sex partner later to be careful of the rat bite on my nipple. I promise they're really good pets and don't usually try to bite your nips. I want a barrier between my asshole and the blankies. TMI, but I finally shat myself awake, and I was so glad I had underwear on for that. Remember people, you fart in your sleep, so anything can happen. Having that barrier makes you slightly less vulnerable. Does no one in this thread not sleep naked because if they have to get up to go pee in the middle of the night, some pee is inevitably going to leak onto the bed sheets? Like no amount of squeezing or pad drying or shaking gets rid of it all. I end up having to put on underwear as a diaper anyway. Edit. You people seem to be glossing over the pad drying part. I am using toilet paper to dry it, but I can't stick toilet paper up my urethra where the last few drops are waiting to come out a few minutes later. I once heard somebody answer, I don't want a spider crawl inside my vagina. And even though I don't have a vagina, the argument was compelling enough. I used to live in New Mexico and slept naked often because of the heat. Until a cockroach climbed up my inner thigh in the middle of the night, so this is a valid fear. Okay, disgusting story time. One time, my girlfriend and I had just completed intercourse. Her legs were on my shoulders. I pulled out, and she was left agape. I grabbed an old t-shirt, turned sex cleanup rag, from just under my bed. I tossed it on her belly while I sat between her raised knees, taking a breather. She put her hand on the rag and just laid there catching her breath. When suddenly a big fucking spider came running out of the rag across her belly and down around the outside of her leg. It came running me across the mattress, then immediately retreated toward the open vagina. I managed to kill it with my hand near inches from the entrance. I still feel like she wasn't grateful enough for my bravery. Edit. Yes. I and my room were pretty gross in 2001. I'm much better now. New, clean, rags every time. Underwear is easier to wash than sheets. Also, if someone breaks in, I'd rather fight than in my boxers than naked. See, I'd rather be naked, assert dominance. This literally happened though. I used to be permanently nude in the summers. I got out of bed to go for a smoke and heard someone trying to break in. I opened the door and ran at them. That dude, man, boobs a jiggling, naked as the day I was born, machete raised, charging like I'd waited every day for this moment. I hope that dude wakes up in hot sweats with memories of that night. I hope he gasps for breath as he is snapped awake and remembers how I chased him screaming inaudible bollocks like a banshee as he ran screaming up the railway embankment. To the people who do sleep naked, why? Because when you turn from side to side, it doesn't feel like someone is trying to wrap you up like a burrito in your t-shirt and pajama pants. And what else are you going to do when you're trying to go to sleep but turn from side to side and flip that pillow over to the cool side? Smiley face. Also, if you're not naked in bed, then your likely only time to get naked is bathing and changing clothes. That's a very limited amount of time in your whole life to be naked. You gotta be free and enjoy life, and that means getting naked every night between some clean sheets. So overall, when you look back at your whole life, you can be like, well, at least I spent about a quarter to a third of my life naked. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, if you don't sleep naked, tell us why. And don't forget to check out our other videos.